Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the GRCV Hoops podcast. My name is Gavin Campbell, and alongside me, as always, my good friend
Ricardo Vargas. Happy to be here as always.
All right, we're just going to dive straight into it today. We got a lot to cover. I think we have about 12 or 13 talking points that we got to get through, and we're going to try to do that in about 45 minutes or so. So starting off with the first thing here, Dwayne Wade was named the Cavaliers starting shooting guard yesterday. And J.R. Smith was not too happy about it. As you know, J.R. has been the starting two guard for them the past 2 to 3 seasons now. And when asked about how he felt in an interview, he said that he was disappointed and upset. But everyone, including analysts and myself, thought that J.R. would be okay with it, being that he's used to coming off the bench. He did it in Denver, he did it in New York, and he won Sixth Man of the Year in 2013 with the Knicks. Rick, give me your thoughts on this.
Previously in the last podcast, we were talking about how they were going to mesh, how it was all going to work out. And I don't think this was a good move for the team chemistry because J.R. Smith has been a vital part of that team. He's been a major factor. And just for Dwayne Wade to come in there and just take that spot like that, I think it's disrespectful. And they should have done that. Maybe when the season started, throughout the season, if he starts playing better, give him the spot, make him earn it. But this, it's not right.
Absolutely. We do know that Wade started every single game that he did appear in for the Chicago Bulls last year. Do you think this has anything to do with him being a veteran of 15 years and JR coming off the bench in past years?
I think so, and maybe the chemistry he does have with LeBron, all that history. But I still don't think it was the right move. Wade, he is an aging superstar, and I think he could I think they might even be equal in what they bring to the table almost.
Absolutely.
Wade might be a little bit better, but
I think overall Wade could possibly be a better player, but I think at this stage in his career, especially for what the Cavs are trying to do with their offense, trying to spread the floor and have three-point shooting, JR definitely fits the bill. Whether he's cold or he's hot, that he's going to chuck it up no matter what.
Right.
And we also know that no one gets hotter in the league than J.R. Smith when he's on. I just think that this is a big head-scratcher for me, especially when it comes to Tyronn Lue. I wonder how much LeBron James had to do with this decision and having Wade start with him. We know about the chemistry in Miami. We know that they're best buds, but you have to wonder if this is the best situation for the team as a whole.
Exactly. I agree 100%. And last year, it was working fine how they had it. So if you get Wade just coming off the bench and controlling that offense in the second unit, you're still good. I think that was the way to go with it. Just to start off at least, but I don't know. I don't think it was a good move at all.
Exactly. I think Wade does have the leadership necessary to bring out that second unit, and the Cavs' second unit are no scrubs.
No,
especially when Isaiah Thomas comes back. You have Derrick Rose coming off the bench along with Jeff Green, who's been playing outstanding for the Cavs so far in the preseason. Kyle Korver, Channing Frye, Iman Shumpert. These are guys that can play.
Solid second unit. One of the best in the league, if not the best.
Absolutely. We wonder how this is going to play going forward. And how JR is going to handle the situation, as well as Wade and LeBron James, as well as the head coach and Tyronn Lue. We'll see how it all plays out. Going on down the list, last night we had the Oklahoma City Thunder taking on the Denver Nuggets, and Carmelo Anthony, Russell Westbrook, and Paul George combined for 55 points in 3 quarters of play together. Rick, give me your thoughts on how the Thunder are meshing together so far in the preseason.
Wow, I am just I'm not gonna say I'm just impressed. I'm just flat out impressed. I'm happy to see them being able to mesh that well. I'm happy to see Melo playing, good, being happy. I think I saw something, he's happy, he's mellow again.
Absolutely.
He's playing the way he plays. I really like that, and I think they're going to go very far this season with that big three.
Absolutely. I thought the play between these three was outstanding. I really like the ball movement between the two. Yes, we saw some isolation from Russell. Yes, we saw some isolation from Paul George. And yes, of course, we saw some isolation from Carmelo Anthony. That's what he does. But we also saw Melo, dish a couple assists. We saw Paul George move the ball. We saw him set some screens. We saw Russell attack the rim and dish it out to open shooters on the wing. And you could just see that the chemistry is continuing to build with this team. And I know that there were a lot of questions concerning the chemistry between these guys and how quickly they would be able to put it together. And I think last night, especially, we saw just what they can be capable of.
Oh, yeah, and, I just like what each of the guys brings to the table. They're also versatile, and it's fun to see them, Paul George playing defense, Westbrook sharing the ball. It's just fun to see Melo just shooting those threes. It's going to be a joy to watch them play.
Absolutely. I also really like that Melo decided to show out against his former team in the Denver Nuggets. Yeah. I really thought it set the stage for when Paul George comes back to Indiana in the first month of the season. That's going to be a great game, and I know I'm looking forward to that one as well as you. But I'm just really excited, like you said, to see how this team plays throughout this season. I know that I believe I picked the Thunder as a 4 seed, a 4 seed in the preseason power rankings before the Carmelo Anthony trade. I might have to bump them up a little bit. We'll have to see how the first few weeks of the season goes. But moving on down the list. Another game that happened last night, LeBron James made his preseason debut against the Chicago Bulls for the Cavs. And LeBron scored 17 points but also had 8 turnovers in 3 quarters of play, on pace to break the regular season record. We know it's preseason, but he would have broken the regular season record for most turnovers in a game set by Jason Kidd at 14. Does this concern you that the King struggled in his first preseason game?
To be honest, it doesn't concern me too much because at the end of the day, it's LeBron James. He didn't lose his talent out of nowhere. It's gonna take some time for them to mesh. But when you have LeBron on your team, I don't think there's nothing to worry about. They will figure it out. I remember when Miami that big three Miami started. They were 9-8 in the regular season when it started off, and then you saw what happened.
Absolutely.
And I think, it's just some jitters, meshing, but I think it will work out with them for sure.
Do you think there's any concern with that left ankle of LeBron's? And, if it's a little tender, if he'll be ready for week 1 and he'll be 100%?
Man, maybe not 100%, but I think he will be ready to rock and roll.
Absolutely. And we know the King, even at 50%, is better than some of the players in the National Basketball Association. So we hope that he is ready for week 1 because I know that we're looking forward to that Boston-Cleveland matchup and Kyrie Irving returning to Cleveland as a Boston Celtic. I'm sure the fans will be looking forward to his return.
That's gonna be a fun one.
But not just LeBron last night that struggled. His teammates also, the newly acquired Cavalier, Dwayne Wade, shot 1 for 7 from the floor and finished with 4 points. And Kevin Love was 1 of 12 shooting from the center position last night. Your concerns regarding the Cavs supporting cast for the King?
I'm gonna go back to Dwayne Wade starting, and that concerns me because if he's going to be playing like that, he definitely doesn't deserve this. I know this won't be an everyday and every night thing, but I think it suits him better to be on the bench and just come off as a spark plug because it's just too many guys on the floor at the same time.
Absolutely.
And I don't think that will work out with him starting.
I think, and I'm gonna piggyback off what you said. I think to go more in depth with it, the Cavs. What the system that they try to play in is what the majority of teams are trying to transfer to, and that is drive the basket, and have 4 shooters on the wing ready, ready to fire, and it's 3-point. We know the Rockets have perfected this. We know the Warriors have perfected this. Okay, all the other teams in the NBA are trying to get to that level because they know that it works. It leads to playoff and championship basketball.
It does.
I think having Dwayne Wade on the court as well as LeBron James, we know LeBron can shoot the 3, but he's very streaky. He's inconsistent, as well as J.R. Smith. But J.R. Smith is still, arguably a top 10 shooter this league has ever seen. And having Dwayne Wade out there, a guy that struggled to even shoot from the field last year, and I think he shot somewhere in the low 40s, 41 to 43% from the field as a whole, not even counting 3-point percentage on a team that still didn't have shooters and, Jimmy Butler and Rajon Rondo on the Bulls. But I think that this is just a big question mark, and I wonder if Tyronn Lue will talk this over with his assistant coaches and maybe bring it up in the next practice.
And tell me, what do you think with Kevin Love and his situation? What's going to happen with him there?
I'm not sure if I like Kevin Love at the 5. I understand that they're trying to upgrade and go small ball, but Kevin Love is a shooter, and I don't think that him being in the paint, we know that he's a great rebounder, but him being in the paint takes away from his ability to spread the floor, and that's what he's out there to do. We know that his inside game has, withered over the past few seasons since being in Minnesota and arriving in Cleveland, but he can still shoot the ball, and that's something that, you can keep with you as you age as a player. And him being in his 30s now, okay, we know that he's not going to get better inside. Your body starts to break down, but when you're able to shoot the basketball, that's something that you can take with you anywhere you go until you retire.
Right, look at Dirk Nowitzki.
Absolutely, and Dirk is a prime example of that. He's not 6th all-time in scoring for nothing, and he's going to be 40 years old here pretty soon. Prime example. But, getting down to the nitty-gritty of Kevin Love, I think that they just need to go back to the lineup that they had last year and then, figure the bench out. When Isaiah Thomas comes back, then you have Derrick Rose off the bench, Dwayne Wade, Kyle Korver, Iman Shumpert, and Channing Frye, these guys, Richard Jefferson. But I think that your starting 5 needs to be, for right now, if you already have Derrick Rose out there who can't shoot, then you need to have JR in there. Which, when I say can't shoot, I mean three-pointers. We did see him last night and in previous preseason games. He's gotten better at the mid-range shot, and of course we know he's amazing around the basket. But I think that your starting lineup needs to be Derrick Rose. You need to pull Dwayne Wade and put him on the bench, bring in JR, start the King, move Kevin Love back to the power forward position, his true position, and then bring back Tristan Thompson to clean up the boards. We know that this worked for them last year.
It did. If it's not broken, why try to fix it? I think the key for this Cavaliers team is to find out how Kevin Love and Wade, how they'll fit into the system. Because I still don't think Kevin Love, I don't know, I never seen, him to fit in good with the Cavs,
And I think many people thought that from the beginning when they traded for him.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not the same with Chris Bosh and the Heat.
Absolutely. Chris was a versatile player, and not to say that Kevin isn't, but I think that Chris Bosh's skill set, especially for the Heat and what they needed him to do, was more sound for the system that he was, brought into.
Exactly. And once Isaiah Thomas come back, I think Derrick Rose, Wade, they got to get the chemistry going because they're going to be playing mostly with each other, and it's just going to take time for them to mesh.
Absolutely. I think this team, once Isaiah Thomas comes back, they'll have that floor spacing that they want from the one position, because then Derrick Rose can come off the bench and give you the 18 to 20 minutes that you need. But we know that Isaiah Thomas is a prolific scorer. Almost 30 points a game last year.
It's insane. And, how do you think him and LeBron, do you think they'll be able to be on the floor at the same time?
I think they'll mesh perfectly. We know that Isaiah can score, and we know that LeBron's a playmaker. So I think it'll be a perfect match.
Who do you think's going to take less shots, LeBron or Thomas?
I think LeBron will ultimately take less field goal attempts. Even with him, going to the rim, we know that he's struggled in past years with at the free throw line. We know that he's tried to stray away from that a little bit, and we're not sure why. And this is something that can be worked on. Free throws is...
Oh, yeah.
And, I hate to say it. I know I'm not an NBA player, but, free throws are something you can work on any time. It's something that you can always improve.
Exactly.
And even the worst of them, even Dwight Howard has brought up his free throw percentage. It just takes time.
Just takes hard work. And, yeah, I think so. LeBron, one of the best passers of all time.
Absolutely.
I think he'll want to take the load off a little bit, just pass it to Thomas, get him going. And he's still young.
Absolutely.
To an extent, I think, yeah, I agree with you.
I just think it'll be interesting to see how these, the first 2.5 months of the season goes when Isaiah Thomas is supposedly expected back in January. Yeah. And we wish nothing but the best for the Cavs and hope that they figure it out, because otherwise this season's for the Eastern Conference is going to get more interesting, and that's definitely going to ruin my preseason predictions.
Right.
But moving on down the list, there was something that came out a few days ago in an interview with Derrick Rose, and he said that in 2010 he tried to recruit LeBron James, D. Wade, and Chris Bosh to the Chicago Bulls. And why we're just now hearing about this, we're not sure, but he felt the need to come out and tell everyone about it. And the way that he tried to do it was he reached out to them. He made propaganda, videos and those kinds of things. But could you imagine that team in 2010 with a lineup of Derrick Rose, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and Chris Bosh, and probably Taj Gibson or Carlos Boozer at the time?
Solid guys.
That's unfathomable. Even if you took Derrick Rose and put him on the Miami Heat, could you imagine?
That would have been bananas.
I think that would have been an absolutely confirmed four-peat, barring any injuries.
That would have been an NBA crime.
I think you have to think about, would Derrick Rose be hurt and not having to carry the load in Chicago anymore, being the second, third, fourth option?
It could have changed a lot of things. Like just picture this. Like they're gonna be really good, and they have a Derrick Rose that's a little bit past his prime. So I don't even want to imagine with him in his prime, MVP type.
Absolutely, coming off the MVP season, coming off an MVP season.
That would have been one of the best teams of all time, because LeBron and Wade, they were just unstoppable.
I think
then.
It's crazy to think about. Absolutely crazy to think about. I mean. And I'm pretty sure in 2010, Luol Deng was still there. Like we said, Taj Gibson was still there. I mean, Kirk Heinrich was there. And
Heinrich will get hot like a pistol.
I mean, and I'm not sure, was Hamilton. Richard Hamilton was 2012, I believe he was there.
Hamilton.
I can't remember, but I know he was a part of that Bulls team for a couple years. I mean, that would have been such a stacked squad.
Nate Robinson was there.
Oh, my goodness.
When was he on there?
Oh, I know it was during the 2012 or 2011 playoffs.
I think 2012. Like I don't remember when, but
I just remember him playing for the Bulls against the Nets and those two crazy games that he had. Someone sign him, please. Bring back Nate.
I don't understand why nobody has signed that man. What a character.
He's just such a good guy, and we know he's a journeyman. But every team that he's played on, I don't think I've ever heard anyone say anything bad about Nate Robinson.
He's a locker room guy. Like every team needs someone like him.
I think everyone needs that kind of spark plug on their team.
And he's good.
Of course he's good.
He can get you 10 points off the bench.
Absolutely. I was really hoping that a couple years ago that it would have worked out for him in the New Orleans Pelicans when they signed him to two 10-day contracts, and then they ended up letting him go. I was just so disappointed. I wanted to see him come back.
No, honestly, one of my all-time favorite players.
Absolutely. And speaking of the New Orleans Pelicans, that brings us to this point. Rajon Rondo reportedly out 4 to 6 weeks with a sports hernia, and that does not sound good at all. But, Rick, I want to know your thoughts on how the Pelicans are going to deal with this injury for the first 4 to 6 weeks of the season.
That is a tough one because they're losing their point guard, a versatile point guard, and I think that's going to hurt their chances of making the playoffs a lot. Because, like those two big men, they need someone to facilitate for them, and hopefully he comes back the same Rondo that he was. But all I'm gonna say is that that's gonna hurt them. Davis, Cousins, they'll still do their thing, but they need someone.
Absolutely. And now I think that the Pelicans have two options here. I think that you move Drew Holiday back to the 1 and you start Etuan Moore, which I think would be a better option than keeping Drew at the 2 and then having to bring in Tim Frazier. Although Tim Frazier did have a few good games for them last season, I don't think this is a guy you want starting for 4 to 6 weeks. And I mean, especially competing in the Western Conference, I'm just trying to.
If it was the East, okay, but
I mean, especially in the East, if you had Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins and Drew Holiday, I mean, this is a team that could probably be the third or fourth best team in the Eastern Conference. I mean, let's be honest. The West is just so stacked this year.
It's tough.
It's like you said. I worry about their chances to make the playoffs now because I had them, on the border of making it and not. I think this gives teams like Denver, like Portland, to sneak in there ahead of them, unless they can, pull it back. Again, we don't know how good they're going to be with Rondo there. It just sucks that we're going to have to wait now to see Rondo in regular season play with New Orleans.
Yeah, it does suck because I was really excited to see that. And, it also, like, with the injuries, Drew Holiday, he's injury prone. Davis is injury prone. That's, like, it's a sure fact that they'll get injured sometime during the season. Hopefully not, but,
Absolutely.
It's it's the history of that team, and I just wish them the best.
Absolutely. And we know that last year Drew Holiday, he actually had a pretty healthy season. He just had to miss a good chunk of it because we know that his wife was sick and in the hospital, and he just wanted to be a good husband and support her. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Family over sports is what I always say. But again, he was healthy last year, and hopefully that he can play 70-plus games again this year. But like you said, we know that he is injury-prone. Even with the Sixers, he had injury problems. Davis hasn't played a full season in 3 years.
3 years.
3 years he's not played an 80-plus game season.
That's crazy.
And DeMarcus Cousins, not any injuries major that we know of. Hopefully that he can be the rock that holds that team together while they try to get things back together and into the playoffs. For the first time in 2 years now. But moving on down the list, we have a couple of contract extensions that happened over the previous week. One that happened a few days ago was Joel Embiid signing a 5-year, $148 million contract extension with the Philadelphia 76ers. And then the other one that just happened today, oddly enough, around noon, 1 o'clock Central Time, was Andrew Wiggins signing his $148 million contract extension with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Rick, go ahead and give me your thoughts on these two young studs.
Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I like the Wiggins one a little bit better because he's proven himself.
Absolutely.
He deserves that money. A great player, key part of that team. And Joel, I think this was a good risk. It's a good risk that the team's taking, and hopefully it does pay off for them because if he stays healthy, that's going to be a steal.
Absolutely, and I think the key there is to stay healthy. We know that big men that have injuries early in their career, Greg Oden, Sam Bowie, Bill Walton, guys like these, they don't get easier with age. Injuries happen repeatedly, but we wish nothing but the best for Joel, and hopefully he has a healthy season this year.
Right, yeah, I wish him a healthy season. But out of these two contracts, I think the Wiggins one was a little bit better, but both are good signings by both of the teams.
Absolutely, and I agree with you. I do like the Andrew Wiggins extension more, mostly because I believe they're going to sign Towns to this same kind of extension roughly next year when his is available. I'm not sure how that's going to affect them re-signing Jimmy Butler in a couple years, but again, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I think for the Sixers, I think, like you said, this is a low-risk, high-reward. I mean, yes, you got to pay the guy, but what other contracts do you have on your books?
Right.
J.J. Redick's gone after this year. Amir Johnson's gone after this year. Bayless. Oh, what is his first name? I'm drawing a blank.
Skip. No.
Oh, Skip Bayless.
Jared.
This isn't first take or undisputed.
That's funny. I was about to say it again.
Jared Bayless.
Jared,
yes. I know his contract is also up after this year. Oh, Rick, man, you cracked me up.
That's too much.
But we know that
Jared.
they're getting a lot of money off the books here soon. We know that their young guys are going to be under contract. Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz and all these guys that are, up and coming. And I think that, Joel getting roughly $25 million a year, I think for, you got to take a risk on him. You've seen the talent.
Because, if he stays healthy, he's going to be one of the best centers in the league.
If not the best center. I mean, we don't know what he's capable of. We've only seen him play in 31 games. But in those 31 games, the man has averaged 20 and 10 with 2.5 blocks.
That's insane.
I mean, this is I know that I bring up the comparison all the time, but I mean, this is a guy who plays just like Hakeem Olajuwon, but can shoot the ball. How scary is that?
And the crazy thing is how young he is.
Absolutely. And what is he? 22, 23?
It has to be something like that.
I mean, the ceiling for this guy is ridiculously high. It's just the only thing that's holding him back now is the injuries. But we hope that he can come off of those because there have been big men in the past that, have had, a scary injury that have come back. Dirk, again, to be an example, when he had that leg injury years ago, I mean, he came back and a few years later won MVP. I mean, it's possible.
It is possible,
just not probable.
And talking about the 76ers, we saw them in the preseason against the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz? I don't know if you've seen that he changed his form.
I have. Ben Simmons looks like he's going to be one of the best playmakers. I mean, people talk about Lonzo Ball and being a playmaker, this guy was Lonzo Ball before we knew who Lonzo was.
Yeah.
Okay, Ben Simmons is an animal when it comes to, floor spacing not floor spacing, but being a floor general. And, finding the open man and being able to trick off defenders, I mean, it's insane to watch him play the way that he plays in only the few games that we've been able to see him. And getting over to Markelle Fultz, I think that he's still adjusting to not being the guy like he was in Washington for the Huskies. But I do think that he has a viable part in this Philly system. Especially with Simmons being the playmaker that he is. We know that Markelle can shoot from anywhere decently. We know that he attacks the rim just as good as any other young player. And, fitting Joel in there, when he comes back and having Covington and Redick and, they have perimeter shooting now along with this young talent. I mean, it's like we've been saying for the past few weeks now, Philly is going to be a really good team this year.
Oh yes, they are. And like, don't my only concern is like Fultz is an amazing talent, like as well as Ben Simmons. I don't want like Ben Simmons like to take over completely and like not give Fultz a chance because he does deserve like because he is a ball dominant guy, and I think it would be a shame for that talent to be wasted, Fultz for his career to be wasted just because Ben Simmons is in there and taking control.
Absolutely, but we know that they're both playmakers, right?
They
so
are.
They're going to have to, and this will come with overtime, especially with young talent. It'll mesh, and they'll figure it out, And Brett Brown he's a good coach.
He is.
He's been there for a few years now, and he's been acclimated with the players, and he's been working with Simmons over this past year. I'm sure he's been working with Markelle over the past few months now that he's been with the team, and I'm sure that he'll figure it out and that it'll all come together in the end.
Yeah, I hope so. Because if they figure it out, the league has to watch out for the 76ers.
Absolutely. Moving on down the list here. Something that I'm extremely excited about, and I was so happy to see this. The NBA released a statement 2 days ago on Monday saying that they will reconsider reseeding the playoffs 1 through 16 based on overall record. This would eliminate Western and Eastern conferences and label the teams from best to worst. What do you think about this, Rick? The league is actually going to take a look into this.
I am feeling the same way you are. If this happens, I would be extremely happy. It would bring a new level of excitement to playoffs, and they would make so much money off this.
I just think that the viewership overall would go up.
It would explode.
Of course, you're going to be spending more money on, if you had a first-round matchup of, Miami and Portland.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. That's wasted. But I think a way around this is, first of all, change the first-round series to 5 games. We've had so many sweeps, and I mean so many sweeps in the first round of the playoffs. And even if it's not a sweep, it's been a gentleman's sweep. Teams have won 4-1. I think if you eliminate a 7-game first-round series, you save money on travel. Yes, you're losing money on a potential Game 7, so you're losing that on 2 games, right? No matter what. But I think if you have teams winning in 3 games versus 4, and that one team, the owner isn't making revenue off one home game, yes, that sucks. But you're saving money on the logistics of teams having to fly 3,000 miles across the country, there and back.
It's not fair for the guys that the teams that do go on to the next round because they've shown that they're better than the other team, and they shouldn't have to play 4 games to prove that.
Absolutely. And even then, if you have a first round matchup of say Miami and Portland, if you seed it the way that you do, you could end up with 2 West teams in the actual NBA finals. So
exactly.
Where's the logistics when it comes to let's say a Golden State Warriors and I'm not sure. Let's say in a few years the Los Angeles Lakers. What are they, just 100 miles apart?
It would be crazy.
The logistics for that, you're not spending any money. And then you still have a 7-game series. I think that they should be able to find a way to figure this out to where it works overall.
Oh yeah, they have the resources, the talent, and the brain power.
Absolutely,
to figure that out.
We know Adam Silver's a smart guy.
Yeah,
and he's for the fans. He's for the people. He hears our voices.
He is. And like I always say, it can't be that complicated. They have everything they need. They just gotta find a way to make it happen because the people do want that.
Absolutely. And also another thing, I just think it would be great to see these teams as okay, well, now it's not based off conferences. It's based 1 through 16. Let's try to go for that 1 seed. Let's try to go for that 2 or 3 seed. Maybe this stops players from resting for better playoff positioning and not having to play a certain team in the first round. This is a strategy game. Just like they do in each conference.
Exactly. No, I agree 100%.
I just think that this would be amazing, and I'm so excited. I'm stoked that the league is actually going to take a look into this. Now, how seriously they're going to take a look into this, we don't know, but I'm just happy to see that they're actually considering.
And it helps with that new All-Star format, because it is going to be a major success.
Absolutely.
That's going to help this, actually become a reality, I think.
Absolutely. I think that should play a part in it. And once they see, how the fans and the players especially respond to not having conference in the All-Star game, I think that's going to play a huge part in it, like you said.
Yeah, it's going to seal the deal, I think.
But moving on down the list, we had a couple performances in the past couple days from players in the preseason who look in top form and look like they're ready for the regular season. And the first one was on Sunday. Anthony Davis scores 37 points against the Chicago Bulls in 3 quarters. And then the very next day on Monday, James Harden scored 36 points and almost had a triple-double. Yes, a triple-double versus the New York Knicks. Also in that game, Tim Hardaway Jr. scored 21 points. It's good to see him filling his role for the New York. And Rick, give me your thoughts on these 2 performances. These guys look ready.
I'm not surprised, with these performances, but I'm just I see that they're ready for the regular season. And
absolutely.
My goodness, especially with James Harden, that triple-double in the preseason.
So close. And I tell you what's something crazy is he did it with Chris Paul playing in that game, and I know that all these questions are how are they going to play together. I think we saw it.
Yeah, no, they're going to play very well because if you're almost getting a triple-double in the preseason, I don't want to imagine the regular season.
And it's coming from him playing the 2 spot. We know Chris Paul is playing point guard now. James Harden is still playing his game.
No, they're going to have a lot of fun down there in Houston. And as for Davis, I'm happy to, see him having a good game. And I just, like how we've said before, I just want him to stay healthy because he is a special talent.
Absolutely. And nothing more to see just the whole Pelican squad, really.
Yeah.
Just for one healthy season, just to see how far that they could actually go and how good they could be would be, really interesting to see. But, like I said, just going back to James Harden, I mean, people had all these questions. All the analytics were going into it. It's like Harden had such a good season last year playing the point guard. What is D'Antoni thinking? Why did the Rockets bring on Chris Paul?
They always seem to doubt James Harden.
Absolutely, and I think he's been, I don't want to say underrated, but doubted. For the majority of his career. Coming up, what was it, 2 years in a row in MVP voting? I mean, it's not like the guy is terrible. I mean, this guy is a potential MVP. And to say that he wouldn't figure it out with Chris Paul, James Harden was the one that was recruiting Chris to come to Houston. I mean, it was ultimately his decision. We know that this was James Harden's team. And, to have Chris there and to see them figure it out so soon, I think this is a good sign for this Rocket squad.
Oh, yeah. When you got a special talent, they always know how to work it out. Like with the Thunder, the Warriors, all these teams, they know how to make it happen.
Absolutely. And I think we've seen with, in the past few years, especially with these superstars coming together, we haven't really seen, them butt heads at all.
No, it's rare.
Exactly. And we knew that, or we know that happened in the past, all the time. A case that I always go back to is Steve Francis and Stephon Marbury on the New York Knicks.
Yeah.
I mean, these were 2 all-star caliber players, and when they came together, they just couldn't seem to figure it out.
Yeah.
Their egos were just way too big, and I'm glad to see that people can set that aside, and come together to try to beat this Warriors juggernaut.
Yeah, most players in the league right now, they are pretty mature. Why wouldn't you want to play with someone else that's good?
Exactly. It's like, why try to do it yourself when you have to go up against 4 all-stars?
They're just all these guys are trying to win and trying to have fun. But something that I do like with John Wall and Lillard, they stay loyal to the team.
Absolutely. There's nothing better than loyalty in the NBA to me.
They are 2 of the most loyal guys in the league. I love how Lillard, he says he doesn't want to go anywhere. Super loyal to that, man. Same with John Wall. He doesn't like this recruitment. I don't think it's bad, but
I think if anyone's going to recruit, it should be the front office job to do that. I think the players that play for the team should just do their job. If they want to pitch in, it's their right to do that. But I understand absolutely where Lillard and Wall are coming from.
Yeah, and I can respect that.
I would also throw Isaiah Thomas into that list. We know that he loved Boston. It wasn't his choice to leave.
Oh no, he was. He was loyal to Boston.
And we know that him and Danny Ainge are definitely on bad terms right now. There was a quote from him that came out a few weeks ago that said that he's never going to speak to him again. He said that he's hurt. He is hurt.
Yeah, no, it was.
No, I'm really anxious for Isaiah's first game back in the Boston Garden because it's going to be a standing ovation. We know the fans love him, and you love him.
Man, I love him. I love it, and I know he's going to go off that game.
Absolutely, and we hope so. We really hope so. I know another thing for me was I would put DeMar DeRozan in there. We know that when his free agency came up, there was
Lowry.
It was this huge thing. Oh, especially Lowry. And Lowry said that he wanted to play for a contender supposedly when his free agency was up, and the Raptors ended up re-signing him. So he must think a lot of Toronto, which absolutely makes me happy being a fan. But, getting back to DeRozan, there was all this talk of, it's like, oh, he went to USC. He grew up in Cali. Go play for the Lakers. He's going to come to L.A. And Then he was like, "No, man, Toronto's my home." You know, they don't call him Hair Canada for nothing. That's his city. He is Mr. Toronto. We know that Vince Carter is the original Mr. Toronto, but this is the Rosen squad now. And I'm really excited for the Raptors this season, especially not just being a fan, just because of watching their games and watching C.J. Miles and Serge Ibaka fit into and even Jonas Valanciunas looks better than he did last year.
Yeah, he does.
He's definitely worked on his post moves, and his mid-range shot looks good. Free throws are always excellent, as always for a big man. But Serge Ibaka, I mean, he hit 5 3-pointers. 5 3-pointers yesterday in his preseason game. I mean, he's looking like a sharpshooter.
Shoot, if he plays like that in the regular season, watch out for the Raptors.
Absolutely, and getting back to C.J. Miles, what he did in Indiana hasn't changed a bit. He's doing the same thing in Toronto, and I think this Toronto team is looking at a 2 or 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. I mean,
I could see it.
And,
I could see it.
I see a fight for that 2 seed with the Boston Celtics, and maybe even the Wizards have something to say about it. But,
and I respect the Raptors. Lowry and DeRozan, they want to stay there. Knowing they have to go against the Celtics, the Cavs.
Absolutely.
But they want to do it in Toronto.
Absolutely. And, DeRozan only being 28 years of age, I think he's just waiting for LeBron to, sign those papers and move on to the next step of his career. But we don't know when that's going to be. He could have 5, even 7 years left in his career. We have no idea how long the King is going to play. We know that he is a well-oiled machine and that he's ready.
He's going to last.
He's ready.
That man is going to last.
Getting back to the Cavs, though. Speaking of the King and the Cavs, Jeff Green.
Ooh.
Jeff Green looks like a completely new player. I mean, he looks like he did 6-7 years ago playing for Memphis and the Celtics. I mean, did you see that dunk against Washington?
That was nuts.
Oh my goodness, that was insane. I mean, that was the meanest dunk of the preseason by far.
It was. And if he can play like that during the regular season, man, they got.
Oh man, he's going to be a huge benefit for that Cleveland squad. He's going to be a spark plug off the bench. I think just his energy on the floor, playing with those veterans, playing with shooters, you're gonna have to respect him now after seeing what he's capable of.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is the guy that dropped 40-something points when he was with the Celtics one time.
Absolutely, and you know that more than anybody.
Shoot, man, he has the talent, and this is a perfect chance for him to shine.
Absolutely, and this has kind of been a forgotten guy, playing in Orlando last year. You didn't really hear much about him. Orlando's kind of a bottom tier team in the Eastern Conference, and the Cavs ended up picking him off waivers, and here he is. Doing Jeff Green things like he was, 5 years ago. Like we said, it's just
for sure.
It's great to see him playing top tier basketball again, and I think he'll be a great role player in that Cavs system.
Oh no, same here.
But speaking of being an incredible player, how about Marcus Smart of your Boston Celtics? He's turning into a sharpshooter, Rick. What happened?
Man, this is a breakout candidate. After what I've been seeing, he shed some weight. He's looking real good.
I mean, the 3 or 4 games that I've seen him play in, I mean, it's been, swish after swish after swish. I mean, he's just he doesn't care either. If you're in his face, if he's wide open, he chucks it up, it goes down. It somehow finds a way to go down. I'm not sure what his field goal percentage is. I'm going to have to find out. It's got to be hovering around 40%.
No, I am so happy. And what I love most about him is that tenacity and that hustle on the defensive end. I saw him one of these other games. He was diving for the ball, just fighting like it was a regular season game.
Absolutely.
That's what I love about him. Kyrie and Smart. Oh man, watch out,
dude! I'm so excited to see the Celtics play, and I'm a Raptors fan. I'm excited for the Celtics. I can't believe I said that, but I am.
Lowry, DeRozan versus Irving and Smart. It's gonna be a fun.
It's gonna be great. And then you got Hayward and then Ibaka, and I think they match up really well. I think it's gonna be great. Great matchup, especially being in that Atlantic division.
It's going to be fun. There are going to be some fun games, and I'm just excited for the Celtics. And Rozier has been looking good too.
And we see why Danny Ainge didn't want to include him in any trades in the past couple of years. It's been his little project that they've been working on, is what he calls it. But he's really standing out now, and he looks great. He looks like he's going to be a great piece to that Boston team.
He's going from a midterm project to a final project,
real quick, right?
Real quick.
Oh man, no! I'm just so happy to see Marcus Smart add a little bit more to his game. We know he came in being a guy that liked to crash the boards, attack the rim, and like you said, be a real tenacious defender. Besides the flopping, I love this guy.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, no, for sure. And like he got drafted like 6. He like at Oklahoma State, he was like a scorer.
Absolutely, and he was fantastic at it, and I'm just glad to see that he's gonna improve that at the professional level. But getting on down to our last point on the list here. Speaking of sharpshooters, not so sharp over the past week. Charlotte Hornet Malik Monk, his field goal percentage overall for the week in his 3 games has been 33% or worse. What's going on with the sharpshooter from Kentucky, Rick?
Man, I think, maybe he's a little nervous, rookie coming in, but I think he will fix it and soon because he is just a flat-out scorer.
I hope so. I mean,
and efficient.
He was extremely efficient at Kentucky, especially being in that offense, and I don't understand what's the problem. It's like you said, he's probably nervous, just getting the rookie jitters out, but I hope this changes before the regular season because we had high hopes for this guy coming into it.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Like I'm a huge fan of him, and I hope he does fix it. But let me ask you this: after we've seen a few preseason games, tell me who you think will be Rookie of the Year prediction. A little update. I
know. Previously, we were really high, or me personally. I know that we were both high on Ben Simmons, but I had ultimately picked Markelle Fultz. I did say that it would be someone from the Sixers, but I did end up saying Markelle Fultz. It doesn't look like that from what we've seen that he's going to be the guy to win it. I think if anyone from the Sixers is going to get it, it's going to be Ben Simmons. I expect him to average double-digit assists for sure.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Oh, man, but really looking back on it now, I mean, we have to consider Kyle Kuzma.
I
mean, this guy is an animal. I know we said it last week, but he just keeps getting better. I swear, as the weeks go on, he looks great.
Like he's outplaying Lonzo Ball.
Right, especially now that Lonzo can't even play. He's out with an ankle injury, and Kuzma's just building up that hype. And, I think Lakers fans have a lot to be excited about.
This was the steal of the draft.
Absolutely. I think ultimately, though, Rookie of the Year, I think Kyle Kuzma is a good candidate. I think Ben Simmons is a good candidate. And I'm gonna have to say that Jason Tatum.
Yes.
Jason Tatum, wow. I mean, just wow.
Like he has a bag of tricks.
He looks better in the NBA than he did at Duke.
Honestly.
I mean, he's such a complete player.
He makes it look easy.
Absolutely. And every single shot is just smooth, it's just with ease. It's like he's barely trying, And this is going against professional talent. I mean, this guy is crazy good.
No, yeah, we talked about, he might not get too many minutes, this and that, but shoot, I think they will have to give him some minutes.
They're going to have to. I mean, especially at the backup 3 position. I think when Hayward comes out, this is the guy that you need to put in there. If you need to put him in at the 4, he can rebound, he can shoot threes, he can shoot the midi, he can throw it down. I mean, we've seen it all.
We saw that nasty
We've seen it all. I mean, this guy, I think for me, ultimately, I would still probably have to go with Ben Simmons. I think that's going to be my pick, but I would not be surprised if Tatum won it. Not surprised at all. Or Kuzma.
Yeah, same picks for me. Either Kuzma, Simmons, or Tatum.
I think they all have a equal chance of winning it, barring any injuries, of course. We hope that these guys get through their first rookie seasons and seasons after that healthy.
Yes,
that's
health.
A huge concern in all professional sports is health.
I wish all these guys, health.
Absolutely. But that's going to wrap it up for us here. Hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. We had a lot to cover in the past week, and, man, we are excited. The opening day is just 7 days away. That's 1 week, ladies and gentlemen, and we are extremely pumped to start the 2017-2018 NBA season.
Oh, I am. We are both extremely excited. It's going to be one of the best seasons in a long time, I think. It's just going to be a joy to watch. I can't wait to keep doing these podcasts and just look forward to all this fun.
Absolutely. Just keep cranking out the information to you guys and, just having some fun talking about basketball again. It's going to be great. But that's going to do it for us. My name is Gavin Campbell.
I'm Ricardo Vargas. We'll see you.
Peace.